Hello and welcome to the great white north, your destination for the iciest cold takes from the frozen wastelands of the north. I'm your host, Charles Constantine, and with me is NP. Say hi.
Hello.
I said say hi. Didn't say hello.
Hi.
There we
It's
go.
not, I feels weird. I like saying hello.
That sounds good, but I thought it'd be funny if I made you say something different.
Yeah, I like playing with the format, as you know. But let's call that a failed experiment. Hi. I don't like it. I'm a hello guy.
Big hello.
Hello.
I wonder if that's like a thing, like a personality type, like a hello versus a hi versus a hey.
Maybe hi guys are more like type A, kind of, get job done, lawyer types, stock market traders. I'm more, hello, like, do you need to buy or sell me a tractor? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like hi.
It's a little curt.
It's conventional, but like, yeah, it just sounds stupid. Like, I don't know very many people that just use hi at all.
I wonder, I feel like people used to say it more.
Maybe, yeah.
Is it a, what do you call that?
Sounds very formal.
It
almost sounds kind of beta now.
Yeah. Oh, greetings.
Well, greetings in the right context. The pretty sigma.
Yeah, greetings is the sigma of greeting. Yeah, that's fair.
Greetings is the sigma greeting. I like that.
Yeah. Are we sigma?
I once did one of those tests, those like alpha beta. I got sigma. I think a lot of our guys got
basically
sigma.
What kind of pie are you?
Yeah.
What Harry Potter house would you be in? Except it's okay. All right. So what did you got sigma?
I got sigma when I did that.
All right.
I know quite a few of our guys did. All the Canadian guys, all the Leaf guys on Twitter when we were all posting them, I think got sigma.
So we're like alphas, but we'll talk to you from the next stall over when we're shitting in the washroom. Is that what sigma means?
If that is, I mean, I did that the other day with one of my teammates. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it. I probably fall into that. Are you smoking dope? What are you choking on?
No, some beer.
Oh, good man. I'm drinking bourbon and Pepsi because they didn't have Coke.
Yeah. See, Pepsi's never as good.
No, it's not. Yeah. I mean, both are trash, but I'll keep drinking this stuff. How's that go? That's I think my favorite Trump tweet of all time.
I guess there's some big events going on, so we should probably talk about those.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Roe V Wade got out of nowhere. It seems like was there any lead up to this?
Well, I mean, there was the leak a month ago, but before, I mean, I'm sure the processes were going on behind the scenes for a while. And I as far as I know, I'm no legal expert, and I find the law stuff kind of boring. But as far as I know, from the pieces I've seen on it, I remember people talking about Roe v. Wade having poor legal standing like 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, but I thought but who would have ever thought that they would be overturned? Because a lot of that stuff has poor legal standing.
Well, again, I'm not sure. It might be a case of degrees, like how many degrees of poor legal framework. So it could just be that it's that bad of a legal standing. Like there's no reason for it to, like it had to be knocked down eventually. In terms of that,
I have seen zero about the actual internal politics involved, except that they're blaming all the justices, and it was. How did the vote fall? Did most of the justices vote it down?
I actually didn't even check.
I couldn't even tell you that. I guess we should probably. I'm sure lots of podcasts are covering that, and
I'm sure they got it dealt with, and I mean, we're not American, so it's not our responsibility to dive too deep. It's it's more fun to do the meta commentary on like the.
Yes, we've been watching the cultural fallout.
Yeah,
and doing some trolling of our own, maybe.
Yeah, well, and I guess this will come after, but there was even some ramifications over here in the dating world from what I think our guest will talk about it eventually. But I even saw that too. Only it was like negative ramifications. Girls on those dating apps were actually, I think it says Catholic in some of my bios, and I've actually had a date canceled because like it was literally before that thing before Roe V Wade happened. Date was good to go, and then after she's like, "Oh, you're Catholic?"
From what I understand,
yep. And then boom,
good.
There it went.
I wish more of them would weed you out like that, because from what I understand, you're getting 4 dates a week. So
I have another 3.
All right,
3 new ones, and then 2 of the old ones are going again.
It's actually doing you a favor if they weed themselves out.
No, it does. I mean, it does help. It's just
you should make your profile slightly more extreme.
You can change them, right? You can. It's not too difficult to change them once you're there.
Yeah, there's some value to that.
But that being said, yeah, it frees up the schedule and just slot more in.
Is this why big boob girls are like more based? Because no one's ever bothered to convert an A cup?
Well, funny you should say that, because this girl that canceled was just those things were massive. So maybe not the case.
Well, sorry for your loss.
In fact, I think the smaller ones, I don't know. I don't think there's any consistency on that. I've seen pretty equal distribution.
Okay. Yeah. Hypothesis denied.
Anyways,
let's move on to the
fun thing to see.
Yeah, it is.
We'll dive into it more deeply, I guess.
Yeah, so
it's been fun to watch, hoes mad and all that.
Yeah. They are sure mad.
It's been interesting to see the arguments that are coming out, and how just poor the understandings. I mean, it's not like we expect anything better from these people, but it's just like basically the mask comes off. It's now you're at the stage where these people equate rights and freedoms with just like, what is the best, what is the way I can destroy myself the easiest without any consequences, regardless of life. Like that's, they're basically just saying that. And they were, I don't know if you saw the ones, calling Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, I did.
All kinds of things. They had no issues.
Yeah, they were worse than us. They were worse than the worst of us.
Yeah, because they were sincere. Like half the time when guys in our sphere make any kind of comments, it's it's just shit posts. But these people are genuinely outraged.
Boy, yeah, their true colors really shone today. They get really mad when you say you can't murder the innocent.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. One thing that I saw quite a bit of is, because they always talk about genocide, and you can't be pro-white for any reason, because if you are, it's going to lead to a genocide. You establish your own group, and then you use dehumanizing language against other groups, and then you use that language to turn that group into something non-human with no value, and then that's when it becomes okay to kill them. And I have seen these people do that exact same things with these babies, right? It starts off, it's just a fetus, it hasn't come out of the womb yet. Now it's a clump of cells. Well, now it's this parasite leeching resources off of me, and it's destroying my body. I saw this one person posting about how it's crushing her organs, and I had no say in what this thing does to me. So to live freely, I need to dispose of this thing. And I'm like, you realize this is the exact same thing that you accuse anyone that is even nominally pro-white of being. Like you have done all the steps and you've convinced yourself that you haven't done the steps to call for a sort of genocide against the unborn.
It's interesting language too, because do you think a hammer gets a headache when you pound a nail in? Like, well, a woman's. I'm not saying a woman's whole purpose is to give birth, but it's certainly in the Swiss Army knife of what a woman is definitely one of the things you can pull out.
Yeah.
If you can't, in fact, you're less of a woman. Like in the same sense that if you're castrated, you're unmanned.
Yeah, you could say that.
It's a hallmark of femininity. So to deny your ability to give birth, or to say it's a aliens style transfiguration of you, is really backwards.
Yeah. Well, like it's funny, like the again using the language of parasite leeching off and crushing and stealing the resources and all that. Like it's funny how it parallels with
that is
the way
funny.
other groups are.
Yeah,
and again, it's just like how oblivious are you to and it just shows that they're so driven by the need to be disconnected from any negative consequences of their actions, that they're willing to delve into these things that would be taboo in any other context. You apply the exact same approach, the exact same logic and language to any other group of people, and that's that'd be a huge red flag. They'd be off their chains after that, but not in this situation. They've basically fallen into the very same trap that they're constantly trying to warn everyone else about.
Yeah. On that note, I'd just like to say Jews are just lumps of cells too, if you think about it. So are we all, though. And not just, I think the just there is maybe the offensive part.
Yeah, well, and again, when you think about it's a complete bullshit argument anyways, but it just doesn't make any sense to say that like there is no start, like to say that the start of something, regardless of whether it's a baby, it's a human life or something else, like the start is just some arbitrary point that you can decide, like the progress of something developing in whatever method. Like let's say you're laying the foundation in the house, like is it not like you lay the foundation, is it not the foundation for a house,
Right.
Just because it's only a foundation right now, does that, like, what else is it going to be for?
Look,
it's not going to be for anything else.
Right.
That was literally the plans laid out before any action was even taken.
And potential is really what defines us, I guess, is what comes out of this. And I think that's a nice way of looking at people. That's why it's not legal to kill someone while they're sleeping. I think someone posted that, and it sounds like a dumb argument, but it's the same thing. But I'm not religious like that. Like, Plan B has never offended me. Because you're killing that potential. Because at some point, the potential exists only in the future. What if these two people meet and they have a baby? It's destroying their possibility of meeting an abortion? No. So you have to cut a line somewhere. And I guess a good place to cut it is conception. A bad place to cut it would be when that baby comes out of the birth canal. Kind of an awful place to cut it. But so Plan B for me actually hits close enough to the mulligan. I call it, I can give them a mulligan on that because I don't have a religious basis to. But having seen their bloodthirst and their narcissism and their desire to never have anything infringe on them at all or have any consequences to their action, it's like how if guys held hands, I wouldn't call it gay, but in this current situation, I'd outlaw it just because it's slippery slope. I'm saying, I guess I'm going to go full Pope mode. I'm going to say, don't even have sex if you don't want a baby or whatever, because they're just so vile. Like they've driven me further right still.
Yeah, well, I think that it just goes to show how important having those fundamental values and having a strong moral foundation really is. Because again, this is just something that it's only really been the last century, not even a century, um, where these people are like, because again, you go back to like ancient times and classical periods and say, okay, there were some eugenic practices taken, upon newborns, and that definitely wasn't okay either. Like, it wasn't based just because it was Greeks doing it or
No.
Spartans doing it. But in that sense, it was very much different than what it is now, because that wasn't about freeing themselves from responsibility and having not to, avoiding facing any consequences. It was about something much different. It was about survival and
Yeah, it
strength,
was more sheer
um,
animal desperation.
which again, I don't think that's a good value system to uphold. But now it is like just mindless, you know, delve into the pleasures as much as we possibly can, and free ourselves from any tie to uh, consequences of the natural world. This obviously, pregnancy is an aspect, is the fundamental driving force behind sex, and to completely disconnect yourself from any of that because you only care for the hedonism, and like where does that even go? That doesn't lead anywhere. Like that, you're so disconnected. So,
Yeah.
stripping ourselves of these moral foundations, to you know on the surface level, it's just pursue your negative freedoms, but it just shows where it gets you. And these people are absolutely out of their minds over this stuff. Like, it's just
Yeah, well, you know what? It offends even more than the thing itself. The left has been winning so long or whatever that any turn in tide is almost it's like a cataclysmic affront. It's Iron Man dying to the world by men, right? Like it's like this isn't how the story goes. It's actually like fucks with their view of their conception of how the world is.
yeah, it really does. Because I think, and I kind of speak from somewhat of experience, because I'm kind of in that same frame, the sort of mainstream leftist frame, when I was in, I guess, high school, maybe shortly after high school. Because the mindset you're working with is that everything is progressing in a positive direction, and all of these things, tolerance for certain behaviors, and um, the freeing of people
We're
from
moving away
these.
from superstition.
Right, like, it's all going in a good direction, and why would there be any reason to change course and to flip some of the decisions that you made? Like, it's all good, it's all going positively. So every little step in a different direction, even if it's whether it's a step back to more previous laws and morals, or whether it's like just a step forward in a way that they don't wish to go. Yeah, it like blows their minds, because, well, no, you should only be going in this one direction, and it can only progress forward, and it's only good. How can people not see that we are correct, that we have established our the proper way forward? Like, and then it's like a whole, now that happened, now that we've gone backwards, we'll have to fight all these hurdles all over again. And it's so much work. And, we thought the work was already done, and we could move on from this. And now it's just another battle they're stuck fighting forever. Right. Like, that's kind of what their
How would
mindset
the
ends up.
Gramscian slow march through the institutions work now that we're on to that? Imagine trying to Gramsci slow march your way through when everybody fucking knows you're a shit lib.
Yeah. I don't even know. Like, it's a whole complete different, different framework for them now. And, like, I think we might have talked about this show before, but it's kind of like the people that have been established for so long, and been in their positions, um, established by more cunning individuals in the past, now kind of seem to be lazy and less competent. And yeah, so what do they even do now? Like,
Yeah.
they just got too comfortable on their high horse.
Yeah. Well, they can't even conceptualize losing. When Kyle Rittenhouse
Yeah.
got off it wasn't as bad for them. Because then there they could say, well, I guess we still have some work to do. Sort of, clearly we need to push these gun law measures that we've been fighting for. Like clearly we have to take care of this white supremacist threat in our country, like we've been talking about. It was very much in line with their beliefs. This one's like, it's like a ghost to their dead grandma came up and just, ooh, quit being a hoe.
Yeah, it's funny how they started to internalize the exact things that we want to see happen, like no sex until men are willing to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like, yeah, that's what we want. Oh, yeah. We better have proper support for families if you're gonna make it. Well, yeah, we want proper support.
Yeah,
for families. That's literally what we want. Like, are you people fucking retarded? Like, obviously.
Well, it's gonna hurt hookup culture. That's why I posted it. If these girls knew how little I had to lose,
stupid are you? Like, this is what blows my mind about these people. Like, do you have any idea, like, where the people pushing these, like, all those Catholics cheering on Roe v Wade ending, they obviously believe that it should be easier to have a family, that you should have support, that hookup culture isn't good. Like, what world are you living in where it was only the one thing? Like, I heard some retard the other day, this in my regular life, trying to say, oh, see, this is just the United States. This is just them needing more people for their meat grinder. They won't even let you have an abortion because they need more people in the system. They need more drones to work for them.
The opposite is
read.
He's kind of like, they're almost right. They're almost right. Because what big companies are doing, especially the BlackRock family of companies, Airbnb and Apple and all this, I can't remember who's all in there, but so all the big companies are now going to be paying to fly female employees out of state so they can get abortions. Why? Do you think it's out of the goodness of their hearts? It's probably to keep that employee an effective employee more, or just to destroy our society and to kill more people for Moloch or whatever. But regardless, the truth is the exact opposite of what that guy's saying. To get more people for the meat grinder, they want abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, they're so far out of reach from how things actually operate. And again, that guy's never going to say that about mass immigration. He'll never criticize mass immigration.
Yeah, we shouldn't bring Indians here to be meat for the meat grinder. He wouldn't ever say that.
It's like this idea of like the Republican Party as this particular, very, very particular narrative, right? They only care about the life until it's born, and they won't they only have an idea of like this, greasy Republican senator or congressman or whatever, and that might be right. They're politicians, they're gross. But that's not what the people on the ground advocating for these things are like. They're not this caricature. Whereas, to be honest, might sound a little biased, but these leftists are the caricature. They are like the disgusting, life-hating people that want to describe fetuses as parasites that need to be wiped out. Like, it's just there's two very different people on the ground.
My favorite meme to come out of it was a leftist piece of art, and it's the lady knight. She's kneeling.
Oh yeah.
And the caption says, you might have to help me out here. It's like, she's asking, but what about my greatness?
Yeah, there was something about you have to bear the child because the child will be great or something like that. The
and she says
for greatness.
She says, "What about my greatness?
I'm destined for greatness too." And again, it's. I think I said this in one of our chats.
It took me 20 minutes to figure out if that was our guys who made that or there. Because I was like, his lack of response at the end really just sends it home. Like, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, like, you're what? Like,
yeah, I think some guy parodied it.
Yeah,
by, like,
I saw something.
LaMayo.
LaMayo. Yeah.
But I mean, something like that. It just, I think I said this in one of our chats, but it's just like the massive ego on this person to think
that they'll be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that
you think everybody killing their child is I honestly, I think if you're willing to even contemplate killing your child, were you ever going to be great in the first place? Like, are you the person destined to be great? You don't even have.
Who's their female heroes? Did Marie Curie have an abortion? Did Amelia Earhart ever have an abortion? Did which other ones are there? Harriet Tubman? I don't know. No. No, none of them did.
But yeah, I think that's just it. It's like an ego thing. Like you think you're so valuable that you're this like individual hero of some like. No, you're not doing anything great. The average person isn't doing anything great. I'm not doing anything great. Like just fill your role where you're at and embrace it in a noble manner. But you can't even do that. You have to say no. It's better that I kill my own baby. By using some logical reasoning to explain away its soul, explain away its life, so that I can do something that I consider like
yeah.
I mean,
you know what?
It's only great in your own mind, in your own ego.
Of course.
And yeah, you're so that's not. There's nothing great about that. You're just an ego-driven loser.
I'll say my grandmas are the greatest women I ever knew. And
yeah,
but who were they heroes to? Well, to their kids to some degree, their grandkids to a large degree, and probably to people in the community who they're kind to or had an impact on.
Yeah, I think Charles Martel had a good post about that, where he was talking about his grandma being this extremely influential woman that ended up with hundreds of people at her funeral because of the impact she made with dozens of family members, and like being a strong core of the community, being someone that everyone could rely on. And I relate to that too, like my own grandma with 10 kids, and now over 50 to 60 people that have come out of that family in total. That is something pretty impressive. That is greatness.
Yes.
Your email job at some shitty corporate marketing firm is not like no one's going to
remember you 1 week after you're dead or quit or fired.
Your boss is going to fire you, and he's not even going to remember your name the next day.
Unless you have big knockers, then he'll call you up and see if you need it. But once he's dumped a load in you that you'll have to now carry to term, he won't remember you. Yeah, no one's gonna remember you for the loads they dumped in you.
No,
I don't remember most of the girls I dumped. Sad to say, they don't remember me probably either. It's not really an important thing. Like it's not a good thing. Like I'm just saying, like it's not it's not good.
Your casual sex that you're having is not really contributing to anything of value in the long term.
I do remember the girls I had nice relationships with, and for even a week, whatever. Not like a callous piece of shit. I'm just saying, your reproductive rights. You know what? I would give away not only your reproductive rights, but just any of your subsidiary rights that I find kind of stupid or gay or like petty. I would give them away in a heartbeat for a bag of peanut M&Ms, which are now like $6.99 at the fucking Esso. I don't give a fuck about them, and I hope they go away. I hope they deteriorate by entropy or erosion, not by legal precedent. I hope they just go away just because it would be funny to me.
Well, yeah, on the like it's the logical, the metaphysical aspect, that whole concept is just not really. I mean, at least the way that it stands now is not exactly been productive for us in any meaningful way. So yeah, I don't care one way or the other at this point. I guess the last thing to touch on with this is about the reaction to this in the sphere, because I guess there were some debates around whether or not this was a good thing. You had these arguments saying, well, no, this is just going to lead to further demographic decline It's gonna, more black and brown people, like they're the most they get the
Oh
most
yeah,
support.
the eugenic argument. In fact,
And well, what do you think about that?
Uh, uh, too utilitarian, too edgy for me, bro. I make the joke like I used to sometimes to drive the point home. My mom would ask me like, "Well, what do you think about abortion?" I'm like, "Well, I'm for it for black people, but I'm against it for white people." Because to me, that really drove, that reframes the whole thing in a way that just blow their mind, right?
Mhm.
It's a good little troll. But as far as actually believing it, no, I don't think anybody should kill babies. I think that's reprehensible. Uh, I Will it cause more or less dysgenics? It's too big a thing for us to control. It's like climate, like trying to control climate change or the economy even, or things like this. It's just hubris to think that we can dictate what future humanity will look like and whether it'll be better or worse by these policy changes. It just never works out how we intend. There's always 1,000 unintended consequences. If you can do eugenics on a one, like if you're trying to make Captain America or you're trying to make the basketball player that was a Chinese basketball, Yao Ming, no, but he was literally, what was his name?
Yao Ming, that's the only one I know that was super tall.
Okay, yeah. Well, he was actually a deliberate eugenic experiment by the
Uh,
Chinese government by breeding their tallest people together and stuff, right? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's like explicit. You can do them that way to like make individual people. And there's some eugenic things you can do, like the Hutterites brought in. They didn't, as much as people say they brought in just random people's sperm. They didn't. They mostly got a really good genealogy together and started bringing further colonies together,
hmm.
like intermarrying like that to get rid of some horrendous eye problems and like hereditary blindness they were getting. There's whatever, one of them. We can apply eugenics on in limited ways like that. The Hutterites can because they're a very small population, and you can make a singular person like Yao Ming. But to apply eugenic policy, I don't think that's in our capability.
Well, and yeah, I pretty much agree with you on the broader point there. Because for people that say, okay, this abortion, this stuff predominantly affects blacks and browns. So, you guys are dumb. You're in a better demographic position now because of that. Um, you don't actually know that though. Like you can say that's the case, but you don't really know that. There's no way to prove that, and there's no way to prove that it's going to get worse following this. And then secondly, and we talked about this in the previous episode with the Resistance to Evil by Force. You know, again, killing someone is the last ditch response to dealing with evil. So the idea that you would just, solve your problems by mass murder of, innocent babies, regardless of what race they are, again, that's just ghoulish. Like you're just saying that because
Yeah,
you think you think you're smart, really. Like oh
yeah.
yeah, this is a good way to deal with some issue that I have no control over.
Oh,
Haha.
yeah, and
Um,
just from a moral point of view, if I do want the blacks and browns to quit making so many fucking niggers and weird little goobly pajeets, but that's their job. I don't want any hand in saying whose sperm goes into who for blacks and browns. Not my business. I don't want any of them here, even their fucking Captain India. I don't want their eugenic best here either. I don't give a shit. Like it's they can apply that themselves however they want or not. It's not my business. I don't want it
yeah.
applied for whites like that. I want to fall in love. I don't want to find the optimum breeding pair for me. That whatever. As much as it overlaps, I do. I'm not.
Yeah, and I just don't. I just don't think like you said. How much do you actually control any of those things? Really, how much do you really know what impact those that have? But you again, really, you shouldn't be making. like, because like we said in the last episode, it's good to have a moral grounding for what you believe in, and like so when you just fall back on this sort of utilitarianism of, you know, what's gonna improve our situation the most, regardless of how that is instantiated. Well, then what are you even like in the
Yeah.
sphere for? Like, what
How
are you
about,
even here
well,
for?
here, how
If
about
you
just
just
have
want
some,
the best possible situation for yourself, and you just make the argument like, well, let's be ghoulish because it will
yeah.
help us win. Like, why don't if you just want to win, like just join the other side and like
Or,
become a fake tranny so you can gain more. Like, if that's all you
or
care about, then actually follow your own logic.
Yeah, propose a more direct solution. If you're going to say, oh, abortion's good because it kills more black and brown people, just suggest killing more black and brown people. Just be straight up about it. Like, don't enact some sneaky backdoor policy that we're going to let the Jews trick more black and brown people into aborting their pregnancies. Just say, we're going to start, going door by door and getting rid of them. Like, why be
Yeah,
coy about it? What kind of coy, kind of gay social engineering horse shit is
because
this?
the thing with these kinds of people, like we're anonymous online, they're anonymous online, like whatever. But the people making the most ghoulish statements, I guarantee you, are the people that have never been a part of any sort of, like, they probably never even punched someone in the face in any context, never been like in some sort of physical confrontation in any form. You like it's just, it goes back down to that, like letting the resentment take over. And now, like in that the text we covered last week, um, becoming that same, letting the evil thoughts sink in because you just don't really have any struggle, and now you're sort of manufacturing these grand ideas of, what you need to do,
Yeah.
what needs to be done. And it's hard. Like, we got to do some vile stuff to prevent these things from happening. But no, you're just like, you're not tough, and these things don't need to be done, really.
Yeah.
And they talk, like, even saying like the demographics is destiny. I just don't buy that argument, because again, if that's the argument you're saying, like, you're already too far gone. If that's, you're relying on that, like that, the immigration is far worse than, births from that, prevented from abortion, and you're not stifling that anytime soon. But guess what? Luckily, you can make a lot of change happen. And there's a lot of value to be had in the communities and the people that are already here, regardless of the wider demographic changes. And we've already talked about this with, Matt Parrott's devolutionary models and his metapolitical frameworks,
Yes.
and a lot of these understandings of how institutional power works. So guess what? You don't actually have to resort to these ghoulish notions of what needs to be done, because if you have a realistic understanding and apply some of the structural analysis, you can see, well, actually, we can put ourselves in a pretty good place. But there's no point in running around with these fantasies, these sort of, violence and edgy fantasies, because they're not going to produce results, and you're not going to do anything because you're a pussy anyways. So why spend all this time talking about um, the need to keep abortion in place when you just need to step over it, take the win, and go back to understanding that we can put ourselves in a much better situation regardless
Sure.
of the wider spread.
If you're just really dumb and that ghoulish, then just enjoy the suffering of the fucking liberal women right now.
Yeah, you
It's
have
good
plenty of
enough on
suffering
its
to
own.
enjoy.
I've been
Yeah.
eating that. I haven't even eaten supper in 3 days. I've just been eating that. It's just fun watching them on Reddit. Like, "Whoa, what if my uncle comes and he gets a sperm sniper rifle
Yeah,
and
what's
hits
that?
me
What's
from
that?
300?
Cyclops.
It's the Owen Cyclops classic meme, but yeah, um, it's really funny. And then you're like, so you're okay with banning just the convenience ones? And they go, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, again, they always make that argument. Yeah, well, what about, what about the rape? Like, what if someone was raped? But again, you have to point out, like, and this is always tying it back into previous stuff, like in the Resistance to Evil by Force, is answering an evil act with a greater evil, the solution to that evil. Like, I don't think that is. And these people don't have a conception of good and evil outside of, what disconnects me from responsibility and what disconnects me from having to face conflict. Like, there's no moral understanding.
I'm ghoulish.
Anything.
I'm ghoulish enough that in a perfect society, you would kill the rapist baby as like a punishment to the rapist, like in a womb, like. But
I don't know about that. Like from what I've seen,
it's never the case. It's not the case.
Who carry those kinds of babies to term actually do end up loving the baby very much.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, I don't know. There's almost a biblical justice to it, but it's like in a harsh way, and ultimately, it's not the issue at hand. No one, 99 point whatever percent of abortions are just like because I want to go make more spreadsheets, or I don't want to get fat, or
basically just it's out of convenience. I think we had everything. I actually found the Owen Cyclops tweet. I'll read it right here.
Yeah,
it goes, pro-choice person. Okay, but what if there's an explosion and a man's semen is rocketed 2,000 feet away to a 12-year-old who is in a wheelchair and she gets pregnant, but a psychopathic genius has a system set up wherein if she gives birth, her whole family dies. No abortion for her.
Right.
And then the next one is, I don't want to live in a country where if a Rube Goldberg style machine accidentally impregnates a girl who just had her first period, she's forced at gunpoint to give birth to a baby who, in this example, has Down syndrome and is missing an arm and they're poor. Compelling. The last one, logical person. What if the baby is allergic to the sun and all materials except sycamore tree bark? Are you going to stay up all night illegally harvesting wood, handcrafting a home and crib and toys for this nocturnal baby? Of course not, because you're a Republican and you don't care.
But the guy's
that's basically what you get.
Owen's a genius. He's a mad genius, but he's a genius.
It's great stuff.
It's not even his best tweets. It's his best tweets on the topic.
Yeah.
Good guy. I like his cartoons too.
Yeah, they're very wholesome and very very funny.
They're so simple and yet elaborate, like at the same time. All right, let's move on to another topic.
Let's shift over. Yeah.
Hey, be right back.
Okay, this week on Cope Country Checkup, we got Albert. It's a great name. He's here today to talk about cryptids, and we're gonna dive into some paranormal shit with him. He's a connoisseur, so we're gonna get into some real good topics here. Say hello, Albert.
Oh, hello.
Before we go too deep, do you want to just give us a quick background? You don't have to go into too many details. Just whatever you feel like you want to say about yourself. Why you're here, where you're from, anything that you feel is relevant.
These are just some good fellas. I'm from the Great White North, without being too specific. I'm more background involved in the politics now, but I do keep my ear close to the surface of things, and I do enjoy the show. So I figure, why not give my pals some fun stuff to talk about in a nice, edgy setting?
Perfect. Glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, it's good to meet you finally. We've been in some group chats together, but I haven't talked to you yet.
Yeah, well, we have some good discussions about things that I won't discuss here. It's always fun.
But we'll hit a couple of these topics.
Well, we need to. The recent ones especially.
Yes. So you're a cryptid guy. You believe in that stuff?
Well, see, I think it's a very varied field because you got batshit insane stuff, like Q-tier stuff. And then you got actually intriguing stuff that's like, maybe there's some stuff to it. I'm a spiritual guy, right? I believe in Christ and all that. And the more I look into some of this stuff, it's like maybe there's some truth to that. Now, cryptids in particular are an interesting subject because there's so fucking many of them and so many types of them, you know?
But there's one that's really hot right now that I think we should talk about. And I think you know what I'm going to say. It's gnomes. What's the deal with gnomes?
Okay, there's like a whole political compass to cryptids. I'm not fucking joking. On the far left, you got Mothman people. On the far right, you got Wendigo people. And in the center, you got the fucking gnome people. It's fucking real, bro. Now, gnomes. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a gnome expert. They've just popped onto the scene. All I know is the little fucking garden gnomes creep me the fuck out. Gnomes are pretty cool, though. I will admit, aesthetically speaking, they remind me of hobbits, so that's pretty based. You know, very trad.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
I know a thing or two about gnomes. Actually, our buddy, friend of the show, Joey the Leaf, he was posting about gnomes not too long ago, and he was on the hunt for a particular book. I think it's like a Dutch book or something, like very rare. It's just called Gnomes, and I happen to have a copy. My grandma, growing up, hardcover, real nice book, and there was all this esoteric norm lore from Europe, and it was strange. It was one of the strangest books I've ever read. They had like baboons were their enemies or something. I don't think they actually were baboons, but like some weird baboon-looking creature. And I just remember them like, I don't know, doing something to fight them. It was very strange.
Albert, any theories on what creature would probably be? That would be enemy of the gnomes?
Well, if it's a baboon, I don't know. I'm getting some ideas here. It could be diversity related. You know, they're living in the forest. You know, you get some invasive species.
Are these the gnomes' enemy in Detroit? Is that what we're saying?
I'm not making any assertions here. I'm just saying these gnomes. I think they need to watch out for their little mushroom villages. They're under threat.
Imagine the show The Wire.
They didn't live in mushrooms. They lived in trees.
They live in both. It depends on where you're from. See, because there's a lot of overlap with gnomes and fairies. And I do know that about the folklore because I know more about the weirdness that is fairies in European folklore. And that's a whole nother can of worms. There's this really good channel on YouTube if you're into this stuff, Think Anomalous. And they do really good videos on this stuff. So there's a lot of stories about people just disappearing for like months on end or losing time and like going to fucking gnome kingdoms and fairy kingdoms for just months at a time. It feels like for them, but sometimes it's just days, or it feels like days for them, and that's months for other people, and they reappear. And it's kind of spooky stuff, to be honest with you.
I wonder if that could explain the missing 411 stuff.
There's a lot of overlap with that, for sure. There's a lot of overlap. There's a reason people are scared of things like fairy circles and more superstitious circles, you know?
So one thing I often hear is the cryptids and the folklore of Europe much more wholesome and friendly than in North America, and they often attribute like North America is this savage, you know, it's still untamed. That's why they seem more dangerous. But do you take that like full-heartedly, or do you think like the fairy stuff isn't as wholesome as people make it out to be?
See, there is an interesting contrast there because in the Indian folklore out here, you got, again, things like the Wendigo that are fucking cannibalistic humans that have turned into monstrous spirits, right? And then in Europe, you do have a lot of these stories about people going missing, but there's a lot less like brutality that goes on. I forget the exact name of the story, but in Irish folklore, one of their kings or heroes goes off on a quest across the sea to find the land of the gods or fairies or something. And he's gone for like 400 years for normal people, but for him, it's only like a little bit. And on his quest, people who get off the boat and arrive in the land, they can't leave. But people who stay on, they can leave. And there's similar things like that in the young, kind of more American folklore. But again, it's a lot more dark, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that North America has a lot more old growth going on and a lot more of that, like you said, that mindset, that darkness, that untamed spirit.
Well, it would make sense.
Yeah, because
Yeah, but like
no,
it's
go
one
ahead,
thing
go
to
ahead.
go into the Black Forest in Germany, the size of one of our, canola fields, and then or going into 500 million acres of square of pine dense brush. The feeling alone, like it would have different creatures in it. Whatever.
Even a place you typically like in North America, like California or New York, that you would, it's fucking packed full of people. They still have way more old growth than pretty much anywhere in Europe that isn't Italy or parts of Eastern Europe, I think.
Yeah, good point.
Scandinavia too. I don't want to make the Scandinavians mad. They kill people.
No, we were on a warpath against the Scandinavians now.
Oh shit!
Fuck you, Swedes. Listen to the last episode if you want to know why.
Them hard. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Well, fuck Sweden, I guess. Unfortunate, but hey, they got some cool folklore around this stuff too.
Not as cool as ours, but carry on. Tell us about it.
Scandinavian folklore. Despite my Christian allegiances, I do know a lot of Norse pagans in my fucking local scene, and we have a piece actually. So I know a lot about this kind of stuff, and there is some interesting stuff with their cryptids because they don't really have as much in the way of, I guess you'd say, super famous ones. The one exception I'd say would be Jotuns, and everyone kind of knows about that. Ice giants, that kind of thing, and they're always bad guys in Scandinavian folklore.
I was reading an Edda, and I believe one of the first things is I think Odin going and pissing off a giant of some kind, something with his daughter.
Oh, all European folklore, even the Christian stuff, has a lot to do. There's giants just throughout the whole thing. There's always a holy figure slaying a giant somewhere in there. You can argue if that's metaphor or real. Maybe we got some Nephilim going on. That's a whole nother thing. That's not even European. This stuff is so complicated and deep. There's a reason people write entire, 100 long page essays on this stuff, because there's so much variety and depth and interconnectedness to cryptids and the mythology behind them that some of them might actually have some real backing. I don't know if giants are real. I don't know. Maybe Vril's real. Maybe Argath is real. But hey, we could definitely spitball about it because it's really fun, even if you don't believe in it.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And, one thing I like to drop on people or hit people with when you're talking about this kind of thing, especially like giants, right?
Oh, yeah.
The average person, okay, you believe in dinosaurs, okay, there's, these giant lizards walking around the earth. And over time, now there's only the small versions of them left. And like, they're happy to just jump on the belief train for dinosaurs. But when it comes to giants, that's beyond the pale somehow.
Well, the thing I find wacky is we have real evidence of like the bones of tiny humans, like hobbit-sized humans from Indonesia and shit.
They're still there.
Yeah, they're
that's a living race. I met an Indonesian. Oh, I see.
Like 3 feet tall, like legit, full grown. They'd be 3 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall,
like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan, exactly. So I don't see how it's unreasonable that you could have very tall people, because you look at certain populations like the Dutch, Frisians in particular, they're like 6'5" on average, I think. I'm just saying, I think it's totally within the realm of possibility. You just got to think about it reasonably.
Yeah. I wonder if that sort of archaeological evidence isn't just a little bit buried because it goes against this notion of eternal progress. It's so popular in the liberal mind.
Yeah, there's like, fuck, don't even get me started on fucking science now. Without doxing myself, I have a lot of fucking involvement with shit related to that. And science now is just a circle jerk of citations. Like, you're never going to get real science done anymore because there's no such thing as science anymore. It's fucking dogma. It's scientism. And so yeah, pretty much. When you're looking into like anomalous things, crazy things, creepy things, people used to actually take that seriously. Like fucking Pythagoras, the forefather of pretty much all math we use. The guy was a fucking occultist, and he thought that math was like the god of the universe. He was a predecessor to a lot of Gnostic stuff in a lot of ways. And, regardless of how you feel about that, I'm not a fan personally. It was still legitimate science. The math he did was legitimate. So the fact that we can't even look into that stuff now because it's considered poor form is just fucked up. It really goes to show how off the rails the Western tradition has gone.
Yeah, I feel like if you tried to dig up a dinosaur fossil right now, they'd hit you with 10 environmental regulations, and everyone would be like, put it back and leave that for future scientists so that they can discover. I don't know. It'd be
Okay,
some weird
well,
kind of. There's
I actually
no
have
way you could
experience
just
with
go
that.
into a public park with a spade and find fossils.
Oh, you'd be fucking amazed, dude. Again, without going into too much detail, I have actually known people who've done this. There's certain spots in the Rocky Mountains, there's certain spots in the east, and certain spots in kind of the middle of the country where you can still find fossils. They're very plentiful. They're often not very impressive, otherwise they would have already been found. But you can definitely find some cool fossils. And it's one of those cool things, I think. It's one of those few things where there's still, uncharted parts of the globe you can go to and find these ancient treasures. Not everything's been found yet. There's still dark corners to explore.
I know Rice River, you walk down there, you can find a million of them.
Yeah. Well, in this country, we don't have any shortage of fossils. It's just about finding the right ones.
You can find Indian arrowheads all over the place around our farm, too.
Really? That's actually quite impressive.
Yeah. We always make sure to scatter them around after we kill the Indians, so.
Officer, please, it was just a joke.
Yeah, this is for artistic purposes.
Yeah, on the future court proceedings of NP. Officer, I swear I had no idea he was going to shoot the poor innocent red man. Please, spare me. Spare me your RCMP justice. Don't feed me to the Wendigo in the shed, please.
Is the Wendigo working for the RCMP? Is this an official cryptid take?
Okay, so that's complicated because you got to ask you, because they come from Indian folklore, right? And I presume that if they come from Indian folklore, presumably you have a lot more Indian Wendigos because they've probably been over here doing the cannibalism thing longer. In fact, that was the thing that some Eastern Indians did after they'd win a battle. They'd eat the parts of their the male enemies to take their power or spirit. I don't remember exactly how it went, so don't quote me on that last part. But they would engage in that. So I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of Indian Wendigos hanging around, and the RCMP is like, "Hey, buddy, we got some dissenters here. We got to deal with you. You want to take some of this fire water and go deal with them?" And then they
just for diversity quotas, they're hiring Wendigos.
Yeah. Then instead of morbing out, they Wendigo out. They go and fuck up the people. So.
Wendigo out.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, apparently, well, I was doing some reading on Wendigos, and one thing apparently that was common was warring tribes having shaman and using their shaman against each other, and they would have. I think there's a story of this guy Jack Fiddler, apparently arrested for killing a Wendigo, killing a person. He claimed that he was killing a Wendigo, but he had allegedly killed 14 Wendigos, and he had claimed his enemy tribes would send their Wendigos against his own tribe. That's what he was fighting against. So apparently it was a method of warfare, according to their lore. So that might actually be a thing.
Attack on Titan based on true story.
Yeah, that's something we can talk about. Attack on Titan, Berserk too. That's a whole fucking can of worms.
We already did 2 hours on Attack on Titan in the last couple months, so I think we might.
I remember that
probably
one.
Should take a break.
But I can go on about Berserk too. There's a lot of stuff there to unpack. But on the Wendigo thing, I don't know. When I think about it, I think maybe there's some parallel with the concept of the Wendigo and the Berserker and Scandinavian mythology, because they're both usually warriors, men who imbibe something, like either the flesh of an enemy or just the flesh of a person when you're starving. And then they gain obscene power. They kind of lose their mind. I wonder if there's some parallels there.
Well, in some of those stories, like in this about Jack Fiddler, there was a combination apparently of wendigos used specifically to attack enemy tribes, as well as the typical story of just a starving soul like gave into cannibalism.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like who was too weak to resist it and was inhabited by a spirit. So it seems like there's different approaches.
So there's two kinds of wendigo. There's more of a warrior wendigo, like a berserker, again, the bear spirit, and then you have the tormented soul.
Well, no, they're the same thing. It's just that the Indians got to a technological level where they took their cryptids and turned them into a mass created army.
A bioweapon.
A bioweapon, precisely. Like how the Jews do with blacks. They took a problem and they turned it into a weapon.
Hold on. How can they be mad at us about smallpox before we even had germ theory when they're using wendigos against each other? That don't make no sense.
Exactly.
That's a fair
that was an honest to God mistake. Like, come on, man. How am I going to fucking know smallpox does shit when all it does for my people is like, oh no, I have bumps for a few weeks. Oh,
they're just not thinking big enough. Head. That's the point.
Not thinking big enough. You got to mount razor blades to their fucking claws.
Imagine if America maybe it's good that America believes in this scientism horseshit. What if they actually harness the power of, that these ancient rituals had, took the actual power of humanity and turned that loose on the world? They put that into their factories and made it spit out true, cybernetic Captain America fucking Wendigo warriors. We'd be fucked.
Hold on. You already assume that we don't have evil. The scientism does not automatically exclude occultism. I will say that, because I don't know. It is Pride Month, and we still got demonic entities walking around the streets of major cities constantly. So, yeah, I think when I see some tranny and drag, that is pretty close to a wendigo.
Okay, so they tried.
I was going to go with too, like. Talking about the evil spirits that have sort of dwelled on this land for a long time, not being cleansed with truth and goodness. It could that whole phenomena, the pride stuff, could just be like a transmutation of these old ancient spirits into the modern, modern times.
Not to shit on North America as a whole, but the decline of Western culture does coincide with the rise of America. Maybe there's some metaphysical link there, some spiritual link, between that dark energy being released and that.
Yeah, we need to be spiritually stronger to contain it and to cleanse it. We didn't do a good job.
Well, that's what happens when your founding fathers are Freemasons. And then your British Empire decides, oh, actually, this is a good idea. Let's just, enforce Anglo-Enlightenmentism on everyone.
It also doesn't help they didn't get them to actually seed the land. That probably would have broken a lot of these curses. But every time I go to a Canada Day celebration or whatever, it turns out it's on unceded land. We should have, got the papers, the receipts, before we started building houses and shit, I guess.
Yeah. I'd like to acknowledge we're on Treaty pee-pee-poo-poo land. Like, fuck. Anytime you have to attend something official, ever now, we would like to acknowledge the existence of this thing that doesn't affect anyone. And the Indians, I know, they don't even give a shit. They're just like, I don't fucking care. I want to make some money and get off the fucking reserve, It's literally that. It's so fucked up.
It's true. Like they do not care about that stuff. It's like patronizing.
No.
I think it would be fair, though. I know a way to make it fair. If every time an Indian went into PV Mart, he had to say he was on unceded land, then I would consider it even.
Dude, you joke about that, but in 30 years, we're probably going to have to say to them legally, yes, I acknowledge we're on your treaty land, like every fucking time you talk to one. Yeah, that's not going to be a joke. That's assuming, of course, that the Chinese don't Uyghur them.
Right.
Which is a big assumption. Now, that being said, I do think that they're not compatible, but I actually fucking respect the ones who didn't surrender, the ones who kept fighting. I do respect that warrior drive.
I even respect their
absolutely.
grifters. Like at least they're not just fucking cucked. Like, hey, good work, white man. You're welcome to it. I'm gonna go get a job as a gas station clerk.
Are there
and
any
actually
races
attend?
like that? Are there any races like that? Like maybe Filipinos, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's slave races.
Well, like I just think when you've been ruled by basically ruled by the Chinese and then the Spanish and then the Americans and then still technically kind of ruled by America and the Japanese, it kind of fucks with your group spirituality, I guess.
Yeah, I think they probably had their warrior caste destroyed by the end of World War II. That would be the last of them.
Like, I don't know. They still have guerrilla fucking engagements going on all throughout the country. They got communist guerrillas still,
They've got a knife fighting honor culture back in the Philippines. But any of the Filipinos that come over here, I mean, they're war brides and prostitutes and shit like that.
Yeah,
or immigrants. So
there's a little guy that comes up to you and is like, "Hey, boss."
They're not sending their best, but they're sending their friendliest.
I have actually found that a good argument against mass immigration for a lot of shitlibs who aren't totally gone to insanity is look at what happens to these people in their culture when they come here. They lose their entire culture and everything about them that makes them unique. They just get assimilated into American capitalism, and that usually does a number on them, I find.
Oh, that's a good one for the shitlibs.
But
you could also say these ancient spirits have been taking control of infect them, and boom, next thing you know, their kid's a trend.
True. I think we need to land back. That's what we need to do. We need to give places like Vancouver back to the tribes. We need to give Toronto back to the tribes, just the big cities, because they're so valuable. The tribes could use them.
That would be hilarious.
That would actually be an interesting development, though. Like, just say, hey, like you guys can have these cities, and just
that's almost
make them kick all the other immigrants out.
That is genius.
I like that. I think we could make that work if you spun it right.
Yeah, we'll give them Brampton. We'll give them Sudbury. We'll give them Surrey.
Wait a minute. We're gonna have a war between the feathers and the dots. That's gonna be like biblical in nature. You're gonna have Shiva battling the great eagle.
That's one of my most ancient tweets. Is that Canadian streets went from feather Indian names to dot Indian names without ever taking a white one in between.
It is kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie. Depends on where you are, though. That's more common in the middle of the country.
Yeah. Well, there's different bands of them all over. We got Somalians there in Edmonton.
My favorite band is probably the Blood 148 for obvious reasons. It's so close. I just wish it was Blood 1488 because then they would be the perfect band.
Well, there were Indian fascists.
There were. I am actually aware of them. I forget his name. He was in the army in World War II, and he actually worked with some. I think he might have worked with Tim Buck. Don't quote me on that. But he actually did very good for his community, and it was impressive. And then he died young, like relatively young. I guess not too young for his people and his community, but he wrote some pretty interesting stuff, and he wanted autonomy. And it's like, you know what? If you fucking guys want autonomy and you don't want to leech off us, go have it. It's the same thing with Quebec, right?
Yeah. All this has made me think of a screenplay in my head, which is, of course, Nazi Indian wendigos.
Nazi Indian wendigos.
It's World War III, but we've managed to harness the occult, and our Indian fascist leaders of Canada start creating Nazi wendigos.
Honestly,
that would be an incredible VR movie.
Yeah,
I feel like that would either be a really good video game or a really good bad movie that would be a cult classic in 20 years.
Yeah, NPNP. Don't forget, I came up a concept by NPNP.
Yeah, like that movie Dead Snow.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty badass.
Then we gotta shoehorn skinwalkers in there somewhere too.
Skinwalkers are the American GAE cryptid force.
Yeah, there you go.
Skinwalkers and wendigos, there's a fine line between them. You know, it's hard to tell sometimes what the difference is. I guess the difference is the shape shifting.
What if the wendigos look kind of like Indians and the shape of the skinwalkers look like trannies?
Well, the skinwalkers are like they're shapeshifters, right? They can take the identity of a person, but there's always something a little off. So I guess you got a point there. Now that I think about it.
Again, going back to that idea of the spirit staying and just manifesting in forms applicable to modernity. But yeah, I think the main difference, I think, wendigos, generally speaking, are supposed to be, people that have just been infected by the spirit of hunger and given into cannibalism, and they turn over like into some sort of a creature. Whereas a skinwalker is like a shaman who's intentionally tapping into some dark magic for those shape-shifting and unnatural abilities.
And where the troon is an incel that has tapped into its resentment and sexual deviancy to transform itself into a dark entity, usually with the help of a surgeon.
But also to 100% speedrun Zelda.
Fucking Cosmo, holy fuck.
That is the secondary goal.
I enjoy lurking on a certain website about Kiwis. And holy fuck, the trannies, they just don't stop, man. They're fucking insane. That Cosmo
they cut their dicks
who's
off.
a famous speedrunner. Yeah, well, no shit. We all, anyone who's listening to this who isn't a Fed knows that. Probably they do, but they want their pension too. But holy fuck. So yeah, that Cosmo speedrunner. You guys actually know anything about him?
No.
Holy fuck. This guy went from, he was your typical nerd type, a bit of an awkward guy, as all speedrunner streamer guys tend to be. And he wasn't very good looking. He wasn't very masculine, but whatever. He was doing pretty good in life. He was like a world famous speedrunner. He came up with tons of strategies for Zelda, Mario, that kind of shit. He was hugely famous at the time. He even had a girlfriend and everything. It was going great. And then the shit ramped up during the Obama years, the pause shit. Everyone remembers that. And the big thing that started to chip away at this fucking guy was that his girlfriend decided she wanted a polyamorous relationship with him. And he's too much of a little faggot to say, no, I don't want to go polyamorous with you, dear.
Oh, no.
But this fucking guy, he decides, okay, I'm going to go for it. How am I going to find something better was probably his thought process. He's probably insecure. So that happens. She leaves him for a guy like 6 months in, something like that. I honestly feel bad for the guy at this point because, low confidence guys, they can't always fucking help it.
Yeah.
But then this guy's everything comes tumbling down because he gets beaten by a fucking nobody at a speedrunning competition officially run by Nintendo. And then he loses his fucking mind. He literally just becomes a tranny out of nowhere. And he has a complete mental breakdown. All his shit just completely declines. He makes no money anymore. Apparently he's considering suicide now because he lost everything in the recent crypto crash. So, wow.
It's a pretty tragic tale.
Yeah, a bit of a tangent there, but
it's great. In a way, he's kind of a modern day Icarus. He flew right next to the sun, the 2009 sun. He had a girlfriend and a speedrunning job in 2009, which was cutting edge.
Yeah, if he had kept on it, if he had just kept his mental stability, if he had,
I'm sure he had lots of little lady fans who would have replaced that weird bitch, eh?
Absolutely. Do you know how many autistic girls just lurk and listen to shit and don't even have accounts?
Sure. And Tiger Woods had a big slump there. He came back,
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. So it's just shocking to me because if this motherfucker had either, had something like, religion, he had gone to confession, or maybe he had the atheist version of,
or even just some alt-right memes. If we had started 10 years earlier.
Honestly, yeah, something like that. That probably would have helped a lot, to be honest.
You guys ever been so mad you cut your dick off?
My favorite genre of trannies are the ones who watched Ben Shapiro when they were 13 or 14, and then they become a tranny and they decide, I was in the alt-right and here's how I de-radicalize.
Yeah, that stuff is always goofy. It wouldn't happen if we dealt with these these demonic entities possessing these people to act out of their mind. See, like 100 years ago, even we hung wendigos because
Well,
I think actually in like
Wait.
1878 it was.
How do you kill a
Uh,
wendigo?
Some wait, just
Sorry.
here's how the story went. Like, this guy, I think it was something guy named Running something. He he ends up eating his wife and his children. He's only 25 miles away from Hudson's Bay Post, so it's not like he was out in the middle of the woods. He had no reason to be doing this. He could have just walked 25 miles. He would have been fine. They weren't starving. He just ate them. And you know what we did? We took him to Fort Sask, and he was hung on the spot. Dealt with that spirit, could not infect anyone else, could not spread that idea. Done. We don't do that anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I'm hesitant to like advocate violence anymore for obvious reasons. But I will say when there's truly evil, like actually like spiritually evil things like pedophilia, actual demonic shit going on, it's something to consider in very extreme cases, you know, because that's all kind of linked at the hip. And there's something very evil about really any of this spiritual stuff, this demonic stuff. At the end of the day, I really pity, like, when I say tranny and stuff and Wendigo, you know, you could say it disparagingly. I think they're all linked a bit spiritually, like I said. But I just can't help but feel pity because it's like, you know, if you had faith or more strength or at least someone to help you and show you the way, maybe you could have avoided this. But, you know, you gave in to temptation or weakness.
Well, and this is actually the exactly what we talked about on the previous episode.
Yeah, it's not released yet, but you'll hear it.
Resistance to evil by force, and yeah, that's basically the thrust of that text is when you see evil, you do have to stand up to it. Now that doesn't mean you jump to force, like to physical force, and like the final stage, he says, is execution. But that is the last possible answer. You start with mental coercion and, you know, discipline, teaching in the first place.
Well, social moderators, like
people, yeah, exactly.
The old Sam Hyde meme, bullying is a social watchdog.
Yeah.
No,
so legitimately
ways that we could be employing to prevent these people from, you know, tapping into whatever like spiritual evils they've found themselves consumed by, but we just let it all fly with like, oh, negative freedom, let these people do, you know, make their own choices.
Well, I feel like there's multiple categories, especially when it comes to like the whole Troon thing. You got multiple categories of this stuff too. You got the very rare case of like XXY chromosome disorder, which is extremely rare, and that's like one of the only cases where it's like medically, if you actually remove this person's testosterone, they stop acting like a fucking lunatic. Okay, that's literally 1 in a million, sometimes even lower depending on the demographic, right?
Yeah, nothing to do with the issue at hand.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the incels who are like, well, if I can't get the GF, I'll become the GF. You got the deviants, the autogenophiles who are just attracted to the idea of themselves as a woman. You get the weirdos who just want to make people uncomfortable and get off on that.
What about Brazilians?
Yeah.
Just raw narcissism?
Hold up. We don't talk about South America unless it's Argentina. We don't talk about South America. Cursed continent. The heart of darkness.
Wait, does South America have even worse cryptids than North America?
Fuck, South America is just such a clusterfuck. I can't
they have the chupacabra, remember?
The chupacabra.
Oh yeah, it's got to be the most blood drenched. Pound for pound, South America is more blood drenched than Africa. Anything like it's got to be the most blood-soaked continent.
Well, you know it's fucked up when even when the Amazon can't even really be settled without fucking slashing and burning it, which is kind of fucked up in of itself, right?
Yeah, fish trying to swim up your ding dong.
No, people were not supposed to live there unless they're the tribes who clearly fucking, you know, isolate themselves deliberately.
It took our greatest Chad, Mel Gibson, to even make one film about it. That's how fucking rough it was down there.
Oh, fuck. I was talking with someone this weekend about the film Cannibal Holocaust on that subject.
Yeah, that's
holy
good.
Fuck. I can't believe that film is tame by today's standards.
Yeah. I just saw a really crappy one, I think called like The Green Inferno. Just
that's
awful Jewish shit.
that.
Yeah, it was
literally 1-to-1 aped off that, trying to get that same demographic.
It was trash. Cannibal Holocaust is better in every way because it actually feels dirty. Green Holocaust, what feels like you're watching American Pie, but it's it's gross eating people.
I think there is some legitimate artistry in art that actually makes people uncomfortable like that. But then there's deviancy, right? There's doing it for the sake of being a deviant, and there's doing it for the sake of showing these things about humanity and about the world we live in.
I think both fall under deviancy, but one actually manages to be like more psychopathic and get under your skin. Like,
well, you're right, I guess. It really comes down to how you perceive it. Like, people who enjoy that shit, yeah, that's total deviancy.
If you're saying you're on Kiwi Farms, you like going and looking at the heart of darkness, you know?
Fuck. Well, you see, there's enjoying it, and then there's like a macabre kind of sense of awe at the things that humanity can conjure out of itself. Honestly, I think it's a very good thing that website exists, because I think it shows people what not to be.
Yeah.
Things like that are very important.
I don't think there's necessarily anything inherently wrong with a macabre fascination or a grim, even a morbid sort of. It's kind of it wouldn't be good if everyone was like that, but it's a good, weird, eccentric personality type to have wandering around. Even
it really depends on the nature of the macabre. Like, there's the very interesting stuff like medieval manuscripts, the Gothic church art. That stuff is lovely, you know.
Oh, wait,
catacombs.
We have to tie this into the final topic we wanted to talk to you about.
Oh God, I know.
It was a little pastiche that showed up on the timeline this week, and it was a goth girl in an air seeder.
In a fucking tractor, yeah. Okay. So I'll admit, I'm a man who's had some, shall we say, rendezvous with the goth community, in particular some women, and that's a very interesting thing to me that actually got popular, because it kind of shows people want like this rural sense of being based in reality, along with this kind of ethereal attractiveness. You know, not to use a Richard Spencer thing, but something that's attractive, kind of outside of the norm, I guess. Not just roughneck.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. So what's your fascination with goth chicks? I don't get it. They look like fucking black clowns to me.
This is an ambush. I'm being ambushed.
Yeah, no.
My fascination. I'm on the same page here. I don't get it. I don't get the appeal.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. There's a few interesting things about them. Number one, depending on the chick, because there are a lot of subgenres. You know, you got the satanic ones, you got the more Catholic ones, you got the more don't give a fuck ones. They just care about the aesthetic. But a lot of them tend to be very sensitive people who hide it under kind of an aura of, you know, just the slate black and the kind of edgy stuff.
Like a flat affect.
Yeah, right. It's the black kind of sucks everything up. And it also has the effect of making it kind of mysterious. So I guess that does it for a lot of people. I think it's also, I genuinely like the fucking music. I'm not even gonna lie. So,
is it got like a relationship to the Venetian Carnival kind of thing?
You know, the eyes wide shut shit.
Well,
really.
But with the whole aesthetic, it's got that white face paint and the black tutus and shit like that.
Yeah, not really.
It's got nothing to do with Venice, sort of Day of the Dead kind of thing.
No, actually, in fact, that's an interesting point you bring that up, because I wanted to go into that. It's closer. A lot of you have probably seen the meme screen cap from I think it's that Peter guy, the Catholic guy on Twitter who's always shit posting. I forget. He has like a little cartoon avatar. He wrote a book, I think. He wrote a tweet, and it's like, "Goth girl hurt me." And the guy's like, "Your upside down cross isn't actually a satanic symbol. It's a symbol of the Vatican. In fact, your whole aesthetic is an elaboration on the Catholic theme of Memento Mori."
Right.
The whole thing really is an elaboration on brooding on the temporariness of life, brooding on the nature of life and how you're going to live it. And I kind of dig that because, again, Christian, I think one of my most important creeds in my daily life is memento mori. Remember you must die. You have to live your life to the fullest. And I think being close to death is part of being close to life.
I can get behind the chain smoking, which I think is a reflection of the same attitude.
Fuck. Yeah, no, I don't smoke. So whenever I've dated a goth girl and she's like, hey, I'm going to go smoke, I'm like, okay, have fun. Like, no, thanks. I'm good.
And the boots. I can get behind the boots, too. I don't know what it is about those long boots.
Listen,
good stuff. I just wish they'd wash their faces.
They do, but there's ones who use too much makeup, and that fucks up the skin for sure. Now, you got a problem, though.
There's a very, very deep understanding of goth girls coming out here. There's like a lot of lore. I feel like, maybe in 100, 200 years time, this might be like a new cryptid, right?
Why
like,
the big...
We'll be looking back.
Yeah.
I'm a scholar.
Okay, all right. Then why the big-tittied goth girl? Let's go all the way on this. I'm
going to be honest.
It's a maternal thing. It doesn't seem to line up with the rest, the sort of Thanatos of it.
There's like, there's like everything. Like I've mentioned, there's kind of a theme. There's categories of these things. So you got, and I've noticed this over time, you got categories of guys who like goth girls. You got the guys who have mommy issues and they kind of like the brooding nature of the girls because it reminds them of their inattentive mother, I guess. They're into that, so that's kind of fucked up. Okay,
that's kind of hot.
Guys. Then you got the black guys who are, they're just niggering it out. They're just like, ooh, ooga booga. I want the extra pale girl, pretty much.
Oh, it's the whitest girl you can get. So of course there's black guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh damn, she got that black hair and them light eyes. You know what I want? It's like, yeah, okay, okay, Jamal.
Big snoods.
Okay, Jamal. Yeah. And then you got alt guys who are just, they're either cool or they're weird as fuck. I've always found that it's 50-50 mix of fucking full-on R guys and full-on retards who don't shave properly, that kind of shit. So there's a lot of variety when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's not one-dimensional.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
I'm not bullshitting you. Now, where do I fall? I wouldn't even call myself an alt guy, even though I do listen to Susie and the Banshees, that kind of shit. That being said, I'm not black and I don't have mommy issues. So there you go.
So how did you wound up in the alt-right here?
How did I round up? Are we allowed to call it that anymore?
No, it's so dead that it's back. It's it's so dead that I don't even mind calling it that anymore again. Because we've gone through dissident right, the movement, blah 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 blah. Everyone knows what you fucking mean. It's
also, I love how we're leading this, like how we should have like organized the whole thing from front to back. We're kind of doing it in reverse. So how did I get started in the alt-right?
No, but is it like related to the gothness?
Fuck no, Jesus Christ. Goth chicks are always either apolitical, complete communist, or full-on fascist. There's no in-between. There is the in-between, but it's completely apolitical, not moderate, But my personal journey, I was pretty much always a rational person when it came to shit. I just listened to the best arguments. I kind of briefly had a foray into like socialist shit when I was a teenager, and that was interesting. I like some Sorrell stuff. That's he was a good writer, but Marx and him, he's a bit of a fucking idiot, even though he's right about like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah,
he assumes he assumes a lot of shit, which is dumb as fuck. So I just one day, me being me. On the internet, as a lot of young guys are, I'm browsing the fucking 4chans, and I just lurk around threads. I don't really post that much, and I noticed that the far right people tend to have a lot of better arguments and a lot more shit to back up what they say. I've never really particularly fucking hated anyone. I still fucking don't. Only people who are malicious just to be fucking evil, and those exist. You better believe it. They're sociopaths.
Yeah.
So gradually, I just kind of adopted stuff into my daily life, and it's actually been good for me, encouraging me to go to the gym and shit, just living a better lifestyle, getting more spiritual. So yeah.
Right on. Heard that story a few times. That's a good one. And so you're not a goth. Do you wear makeup?
Oh fuck. Without doxing myself and going into detail, because people might recognize me. I do occasionally go to things. I don't put on makeup or anything, but I'll dark it up, just dark clothing, that kind of shit. Nothing retarded. I don't want to look
It's like the goth music
weirdo.
scene or like goth stuff.
The music,
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
the
like
music.
a lot of metalheads in the scene, and they dress pretty fucking dumb too. So we don't judge you too hard.
Yeah, again, metalheads are literally like every other metal music scene. They got the bass guys who listen to Burzum, and just that's all they do. And then you got the fucking weirdos who are sex perverts most of the time and just there to try to fuck chicks.
You got the fat beardo?
What?
He was always my friend.
Wait, hold on. Who the
There's
hell,
so many
who the
of
hell's
those.
going to like metal shows to bang chicks? There's 0 girls at metal shows.
Yeah, well, there's like 3 of them.
It depends on your scene.
Well,
There's always a few chicks that show up to shows like that, and it really depends on the venue too, because certain venues just get regulars, right?
The last time I went to Devon Townsend, there was 0 pussy. Like not even in 100 miles. They sent all the girls like to other provinces for the show.
But you're definitely right. It's not as common now in the punk scene. That shit's fucking relentless. It's constant.
I can
They
imagine
have like a
that,
new
yeah.
sex scandal every week. Like a new 14-year-old girl who was the victim of a singer.
Yeah, that sounds sex pest punk heads. That sounds pretty typical.
When I was in the, wandering around Edmonton in the music scene, the punks were the lowest of the fucking low. Actual literal pedophile Antifa pieces of shit. I would look, I'm not going to Fed post on them. I wouldn't be sad no matter what happened to any of those people. And most of the girls too should be rescued and put in a shelter with the fucking like mutts.
Dude, a lot of them are legit Stockholm syndrome chicks. It's really sad.
They're heroin addicts. No, they're heroin addicts.
Well, yeah, you're a fucking slave to the drugs and, genuine piece of shit sex pests. Like, bro, what are you doing with your fucking life?
They just spit on each other when they fight. They don't even like throw fists. They just spit on each other. They're fucking the grossest people. Literal shit throwing monkeys.
Some of my fondest memories are little like fucking fight clubs with the local guys. Those are always fucking fun. See that? They don't even have that. What the fuck?
If we ever get Tyler Hamilton on the show, we'll get him to actually talk about his metalhead past. I don't think anyone's covered that. They're always too into his current Christianity. I think he's still a metalhead too, though. So we'll get into that, and we'll see if he'll tell us about his fights and when Antifa showed up at his house and stuff. A couple of events
I was at recently that have a lot of overlap with those communities. One of the places there that was selling shit, there was a fucking Antifa patch being sold at one of the booths. And it was so fucking funny to me. I was laughing inside because I'm just, the people at the booth, they were all like the most dysgenic people I've ever seen. I go up to, I'll make eye contact with some of the people there, and they can't hold it for more than a second. It's like, fuck, man. You guys need to fucking, I say this as legitimate advice. Work on your fucking social skills, please. Holy shit.
My advice to Antifa is to make peace with your fathers. God.
I'm going to take the Mishima route and say, political violence is always funny. I don't care if it's from the right or left. I'm not going to condone it, especially on a public platform. That's fucking stupid as shit. Violence bad, but it's always interesting, the contrast in the people who just want to fucking talk and the people who actually do it, because the people who actually do are always either insane or very smart. There's no in between there. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Or feds. There's a lot of feds too.
Well, that's the bulk of the cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Gross.
Yeah. Charles, you ever get in any fights outside? Like, you go to metal shows, right?
Yeah.
You ever get any fights in those? Or see any?
No. Like, never fight.
Metal. They're
I've
very
never seen
peaceful.
a fight at a metal show in my life.
People are usually pretty fucking polite
No,
at shows,
no.
even unless someone's being a complete ass.
Yeah, metal shows are some of the most peaceful places you'll ever go like that, like the least fighting, unless there's like a punk show next door or some other fucking thing like that.
Yeah, someone dumb, like young kid that just bumps in the mosh pit doing windmills or something. They got rocked, but you don't really see that too often.
Yeah, well, that's just someone getting hurt. That's not a fight.
Now, I know Edmonton's actually getting a goth club. I know that for a fact. At some point in
Really?
the future, they're a full-on just for that, which is surprising, honestly. I didn't know there was a big scene for that there.
Oh, you just brought up a hidden memory that I had.
Oh, did I?
When I was 23, I was working in a restaurant. I had a girlfriend for about a year, but she was being a pain in the ass. I invited a girl invited me to a show from the restaurant that I worked in. And in my 23-year-old autism, I brought my girlfriend too. So I had these two redhead girls staring at each other across the table as this goth band with like a steampunk thing had a snake bite one of her nipples or something. And they're like piercing themselves on stage and stuff. I had actually repressed it until this very moment, but it's probably the most hardcore shit I've ever done.
You have also invoked a very similar memory to me that I had completely fucking forgotten, because one time, me and my superb autism as a young man who had just started dating properly, like in his young adult years, I decided it would be a good idea to invite my new girlfriend and the girl I had previously been seeing a couple months before to brunch at the same fucking restaurant.
What an idiot!
My finest hour. So I was very good at managing a conversation with both of them. But then afterwards, the one who was not my girlfriend, because my girlfriend, I dated her for like another year after that, this chick sent me the longest fucking paragraph I've ever received text for. And I honestly feel really bad about it because I was like so retarded that I didn't consider that this would hurt her feelings.
Yes. Oh my god. I wonder if how women are now is just revenge against how we were when we were 23. I actually fucking deserve all this. I deserve all this shit.
Like, I don't want to come off like simpy, but I'm sorry, ladies. I didn't want to fuck you up that bad.
Yeah, I'm just autistic. I'm just autistic.
It's funny because that's like so many of the fuck ups like that are completely just autistic and unintentional, and they have no clue. Like they think like you're just being
the worst mistake.
I just wasn't thinking.
The worst mistake that God made was giving autistic men access to gyms and dating apps. Because we get on it, we're like a fucking silverback gorilla in a fucking like orphanage.
The worst mistake so far.
True. Sorry, the worst mistake he could do with right-wing men was that.
So far.
Fuck. Oh, speaking of dating apps, because I guess we're talking about women shit now. Ever since Roe V Wade has been destroyed, I have had an increase in Tinder likes.
They want you to put your sperm in them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the dating apps, but unfortunately, as any man in our age group knows, it's kind of an unfortunate reality. And I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah. No, all this talk of rape and Handmaid's Tale and forced impregnation shit's got them fucking horny.
Jesus Christ. You know what's fucked up too? It's true. Yeah, they a lot of them do enjoy it. Not all of them. There's some of them who legitimately fucking hate that shit, but there's a lot who actually do get off on that. And I don't understand why. Like,
what do you mean you don't understand why?
No. Let me finish. I get the evolutionary. I get the evolutionary psychology. You know, being taken by the man through, you know, kidnaps in the raid, that kind of shit. I get that.
This is, for the record, number 5. Bing, bing, bing. Albert, you're the 5th person to mention bride kidnapping on the Great White North in 18 episodes. Mark it.
Well, it's genetic. I think it's advancing, and like the collective consciousness is something that needs to happen, like on a societal level. Not necessarily cruelly, but I feel like it's boiling up. It's the pot
rape
is
ape theory.
the Joe Rogan theory.
Yes. What is it? Sunrise of the Ape?
Something like that. I don't know.
I'm trying
Planet of the Apes. What?
No, I'm trying to remember the horrible evolutionary psychology. Like the horny ape is called. It's called Sunrise the Apes or some horn. It's garbage. Never mind.
The high monkey. Are you talking about the monkey that takes like the mushrooms and then it develops consciousness?
No. That's Terence McKenna's theory. No, this one's a dumber one. It's just talking about bonobos and how it's an evolutionary psychology book about why we're horny all the time.
It's because we want to fuck.
Oh, it's trying to say we're polyamorous. That was his big thing.
Okay, that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's horse shit. It's just saying that because other primates are.
Now, I will say we aren't polyamorous, but it's not uncommon historically for like one man to take a lot of fucking wives. I'm not condoning that. It's not my fucking religion, but it's been common historically. So I don't know. I guess
aggression.
I guess Mormons are going to take over the world.
I don't think there's any normal. I was talking to Tyler I was over talking to Tyler Hamilton and having a whiskey with him this weekend, and we started talking about some kind of societal norm. And what he was getting at was that there is actually no normal. Like evolutionary psychologists trying to say there's some natural or like there's a natural state that humanity exists in. And like Marx makes that argument, right? And like Rousseau and all that. But there is no natural state.
I would argue that there isn't like a set state. You're correct about that. But there is kind of a flow, like a stream that pushes people in a certain direction.
Sure.
That's what I would argue.
And then there's hungers and drives that are universal.
And I think some of those are definitely linked to our higher functions as, intelligent beings.
I don't think anything compels us to be polyamorous or prevents us from it. I think it's purely religious, like construct, like societal construct, not just contained in the individual, but from that stream that you're talking about.
You know what tells me that it's probably a bad idea?
What?
The appearance of every fucking person in a polyamorous relationship I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Good heuristic.
I knew a girl, when I was in school for something, who was in a polyamorous relationship, and I had no idea. And I started flirting with her, and I get her number and stuff. We talk for a bit, and then she tells me about this shit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, not getting involved. Literally 2 years later, she has dropped from like an 8 to a 4.
Why?
She hasn't put on weight. She just got really fucking ugly somehow.
Well, it's her spirit. It's just her spirit.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I was about to get to an important point. She wore a pentagram necklace. I only noticed this later on her Instagram, so I think something's sapping away her vitality. To be clear, upside down pentagram, not the right side up pentagram.
Wasn't there that case, or maybe it's multiple cases? I wouldn't be surprised, but that polyamorous couple, I think like 4 guys and like 1 woman. And like they she had a kid and one of them killed the kid.
Yeah, the Goblina. I remember that. Yeah. She's wearing like the pink shirt.
Shit. Tying it all back in. There's some Wendigo shit coming back in the play.
I saw that, and the first thing I thought of was how male lions kill the cubs of an older male if the older male dies.
Anyone who's ever dealt with a step parent just knows that's true.
I can relate. There's a reason when kids watch shit like Cinderella, they get a subconscious fear of the fucking stepmother because they're like, that's not my real mother. I don't trust this person to protect me.
Well, there's a reason that real stepmothers tend to try and drive away the previous children.
Yeah, there is.
But it's a little, it's kind of a Charles Dawkins thing. Like, it's like our sperm, our gametes, our eggs are controlling us, and we're just meat robots that are controlled by them. But
the last girl I was... Oh, no, sorry.
I'm saying it like, I guess evil in a way is succumbing to that kind of nature, is succumbing to just being a gamete driving a robot suit, like Kang in the Ninja Turtles.
The last girl I was seeing, Goth girl, bitch to me a lot, actually, about family stuff. It's like, okay, we're dating pretty much, so I'll take it, whatever. But she would bitch a lot about her dad's place because her dad was married to a new woman and she didn't live there anymore because she didn't fucking get along with her stepmom. So you're right about that.
No,
there's definitely something there.
Many such cases.
Now, I do wonder if there's also something a little Freudian there, not to applaud Mr. Freud for being a piece of shit Noseberg, but I do wonder when all those factors are involved.
No, I think there's some truth into that for sure. It's the whole. Well, I mean, even like you have Greek myths about those kind of stories. It's sort of been around for forever, really. So.
Well, the problem with Freud is he generalized. He had his own fucked up shit, and all his theories were stuff that applied to him that he thought he could apply to everyone.
Like he projected, you mean?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, do Jewish guys want to fuck their mom? That's the vibe I'm getting from the porn they keep dishing out.
There might be some actual truth to that, and I don't say that lightly because Jewish culture is very matriarchal. Of course, they have rabbis. Rabbis are the head honchos, but the Jewish household, and anyone who should know this, the head of the household is usually the head of the culture, and they drive the culture's direction. They're usually very women-dominated. There's a reason Jewish films and films directed by Jews, especially the in-joke ones that are made for Jews, usually have a very overbearing mother character. And that's because that's a real thing in their household. You can ask a lot of Jews this. It's true. And it's not a coincidence. It's genetic, and I think that's part of the reason why they only think real Judaism can be passed down from the mother.
How? So wait, how does that make them want to fuck them?
Well, again, it's wanting the power. It's wanting the power, right? It's wanting being control.
Oh, so instead of it's the Wendigo thing. Except instead of eating them, you're fucking them.
There's every episode of this fucking show is just gonna be a Wendigo analogy going forward. Just man,
analogy and a Wendigo analogy.
When Justin Trudeau mowed down those freedom protesters, that really reminded me of that Wendigo story.
This always happens on Twitter and stuff. Is whatever the current topic is, everything like it was the Ottoman Empire for a little bit there, and then everything was the fucking Ottoman Empire. Thanks, Borzoi.
Oh fuck, Borzoi is my favorite. I think Borzoi made it. The Tranissaries, that concept.
Yeah. I love Borzoi.
That's fucking great. I don't know. Do you think the viewers have heard of the Tranissaries?
Yeah, but go on and describe it too, just in case they haven't.
Okay, well, I'm assuming there's a few who haven't. So a Janissary in the Ottoman Empire was usually a young male from a non-Muslim culture or non-Turkish culture at the very least, who was taken in as a youth and usually castrated. And they were brought up in the Muslim faith. They were completely indoctrinated into the full functioning of a very fanatical type of Islam. And they were taught the whole purpose for their life was to serve the Sultan, the Ottoman Empire, and that whole business. And it created very effective warriors because you could just send in these Janissaries who were absolute fanatics as the front of any offensive, and they would soak up all the casualties and do most of the damage without harming your own guys. And it was a great method of keeping conquest just going and going and going. So trannies are basically the same thing. They take children, and they indoctrinate them into their ideology, they castrate them, and then they set them loose against their enemies. Now, who makes the Tranissary? Sometimes it's trannies, sometimes it's other people. That's up to
Wasn't there a kind of race like that called the Malmuk who ended up turning against their
the Mamluks?
Yeah, the Mamluks, and they were always mercenaries like that. But then they ended up like getting kind of some will of their own and taking over Egypt.
Pretty much the same concept. I'm not as well informed on them, but I think there was some eunuchs in their ranks. But yeah, they basically were the military arm of the Egyptians, and then they overthrew the entire Egyptian monarchy and whatever, and took over. And then they were the head honchos, and they fought a lot with the Ottomans. So, I guess best friends can't fight.
Okay.
Interesting stuff.
What should we get as a eunuch sponge warrior?
Should weed or we?
No, yeah. Like, what should the dissident right? We need
Okay.
obviously to fight on the same
Well,
terms. So who should we use for this?
Well, listen up, Buster. Because
Incels.
back in the day in the South, we had a little thing called buck breaking. Now, listen closely. What we do is we take the buck out to the barn and we
No. Okay. I'm just gonna have to cut it here. I don't want to have to do any editing. Stop the joke there. No more Tariq fan.
I
No.
won't go into detail, but
Yeah.
as you were saying, there's a very well-endowed, educated gentleman named Tarek Bussy who has done a documentary on this. I'm sure most of you are aware of. You should go listen to his brilliant documentary on buck breaking.
Yeah, he really changed how I think about washing my ass.
He really changed how I think about African Americans.
Yeah, I didn't realize they thought of us that way.
Well, sometimes massa just don't do differently. You got to go for what you know.
Damn.
It's the ancestral memory, the blood memory.
It's like those bug blacks. You heard about these bug blacks?
Fuck. Hey, you asked, man. You guys asked, I answered the question.
I forgot about that. You hear about these bug blacks. That's so great. Yes.
Fuck.
So go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, what else you got for me?
Okay, I was gonna say I think that's a good place to wrap her up.
Perfect. Well, we're on the same vibe.
Yep.
Sweet.
Cool. That was a fun show, fellas. I really enjoyed the fact that you make me ping pong from fucking wendigos to goth girls to relationships to women to scenes and then to buck breaking. That's cool.
Yeah,
It was a great topic spread. It was all rooted in the dark spirits of North America. I think that was the general theme underlying it all. Whether we tap into that or not.
We need a Halloween episode, and we can just get the worst people for this shit on.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get you and Joey on for Halloween. That would be so much fun.
Perfect.
And whoever else we dig up that way.
Deep in that stuff too, yeah.
Perfect. If I don't have a goth harem of 50 women by then, sounds great.
Or if you do, bring a couple of them on too. I remember some time ago reading this Countercurrents article about jazz music, and it's a truly American art form. I don't think anyone debates that. But it was saying, I think something like it has a lot of white influence that got buried, along with it's got a lot of Jewish influence and a lot of black influence too. But anyway, jazz seems to have been coming up a lot in Twitter lately. What do you think of that?
Well, I think you don't really have a strong opinion on jazz one way or the other. I see a lot of people going, oh, like it's bad because it's Jewish, or it's bad because blacks play it, or like it's degenerate. It's it makes heroin addicts. Like all these I don't know. I think it's just a reactionary, one of those things, like a thought terminating cliche kind of thing, where you're just, jazz is bad because I saw it in a poll thread one time, or because Eric Stryker one time said jazz is degenerate Jewish art form. So yeah. I hate it all now.
It really makes me think people have one idea about jazz, which is like the 60s avant-garde or fusion kind of jazz, like saxon, or like Coltrane or something like that. But no, I'd actually like Coltrane. But
the Giant Steps has some cool little music shit.
Or if you ever watch the movie Whiplash and see the drumming in there, you gotta admire it, right? But jazz actually covers an astounding array of music. Everything from I don't know if ragtime is technically qualified as jazz. I think almost.
I'd probably say it's probably in the mix there. And
big band swing.
You have a lot of cool stuff. Like there's dark jazz. That's a very interesting atmospheric.
A lot of the new stuff is pretty much like Animals as Leaders as much jazz as metal.
What I was gonna say is so much of top tier metal nowadays has. I mean, there's always been a bit of jazz influence. Like a lot of the drummers and guitarists in early metal came from jazz backgrounds. Like in Megadeth, it was Gar Samuelson and forget the guitarist's name. In the first lineup of Megadeth were both jazz musicians. But now, yeah, you see that. You see, like, Meshuggah always had a little bit of a jazz influence, and with the heavy syncopation and polyrhythms.
Well, you know who I like? Miles Davis.
Yeah.
A Little Blue, or whatever that album's called, is beautiful in many places. And the guy is a bit of a poet, I would say. I'm not saying bass black guy. I'm just saying, like, credit where it's due. Blacks may have not invented the whole mode of music Bach, did. Or, it might be an European mode, but they definitely put a lot of poetry and expression to it as individual performers when they do it. And we have to give them credit there. I mean, or don't. You don't have to like it, but I don't think you could say that. I mean, I think they're objectively great musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is one of the points of contention I think I hear people make is, well, technically they're good musicians. They have, they're very talented, but there's nothing higher they're aspiring to in the music, and it's just sort of this dead rambling.
What they're
drug-induced, like hedonism is exemplified by it. Which I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree, but they're almost at a good argument. You could say that something like Handel aspired to please God himself and had like a real transcendent virtue, but that of music is rare. It does happen. It is European, not happen to come, but it is European. But it's vanishingly rare. History of music. Most music is about, well, sounding good and self-expression and expression towards like entertainment. And in all of those things, a lot of jazz music hits the market. And no one who likes jazz really will like all jazz. You'll like either this or that. And nobody really likes the honky, gross, weird, avant-garde, whatever stuff. I mean, except pretentious stoners, whatever. If you're a music lover, you can give all the credit, like, your real music lovers love Ravi Shankar almost across the board. And he doesn't play in the European style. He plays in the Indian classical style, which has its own rules and is exquisite, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say this is good or better than Beethoven, but it's better than 99% of the rest of the European music. The top echelon of human music you can make. I guess let's broaden this topic in general. We hate on the Jews a lot, but we like Bobby Fischer. And even if we didn't like Bobby Fischer, we'd still have to admire his chess playing.
That's right.
No, there's nothing inherently degenerate about jazz. There's some degenerate jazz, without a doubt. There's some subversive Jewish shitty jazz that's just trying to make music sound like shit and make you like it, like a trick. That's probably true too. I say don't listen.
But yeah, you can find that with any. I mean, you can find that with anything, not just in music. Like anything can have a vector.
Christmas carols.
Exactly.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is a Jewish subversion of Christmas carols. Actually, basically any Christmas carol that doesn't mention Jesus was written by a Jew in the 1960s.
Yeah, and even that being said, you know what? A lot of that stuff is great. Like, I got no issue with it.
Yeah,
honestly.
Jingle Bells is kind of a charming song, and there's nothing offensive in it.
Yeah, so I think when you're so reactionary that you're willing just to like cut out an entire genre or approach to things simply because you have it, again, thought turning cliche about the topic, it doesn't really reflect well on you. And you see when people try to argue these things, they're very limited in what they can say because they always have to, go on these very nuanced and niche streams of the topic. Like I think I saw someone like posting this almost schizophrenic paper about Jewish influences in jazz, but it was all focused on one specific stream and didn't really broaden out beyond that. And it's not very convincing. Like it may have some truths in it, but again, it's not really a broad critique, and it falls flat. And I forget. Like I know his Striker was debating someone, might have been Destiny, over something, and then he started saying, okay, well, jazz music is Jewish, subversive, blah blah blah. And like in that moment on that debate, he just looked like, I like Striker, but he looked retarded in that moment. Genuinely speaking, because how do you?
It's
how
a
do you
weak
actually
argument.
how do you complete that argument? Like, how does that actually make sense? When you go look at the broader scheme of jazz, that like there's lots of great stuff in the mix that defies the critiques. I think a good example, I'm sure lots of people have come across this. It's like almost a meme at this point, but like in the YouTube algorithm, I swear everyone's come across that album called Mint Jams by Cassiopeia, some Japanese jazz band from like the 70s. Like really, it's so good. Like it's unreal. And to say that there's zero transcendence and to say that it's pure subversion simply because it comes out of jazz is to just be out of your mind. Like you just saying something that is actually good is bad because my narrative demands it to be that way.
Yeah. The other one that gets me, people go on Frank Zappa for being a CIA guy, and this is thanks to Jay Dyer and his moral value theories. Except the whole argument is that his dad was involved in the Navy, like and maybe in Navy intelligence.
Right.
But like, where in his music do you see any? Frank Zappa was utterly conservative compared to the hip. He was anti-drugs, anti-faggotry. He lived like a kind of bohemian lifestyle, to be sure, but he still had a family. Like, I'm not saying he's actually a role model or anything. It's just he's not worse or better. Like, what in his music is going to influence you to, Project Mockingbird or whatever. What words are you going to hear on the radio that's going to make you remember a Frank Zappa song and then go, I don't know, kill a Republican senator?
Yeah.
It's fucking nonsense.
Yeah, no, that is silly. Because it really only applies to some of them, like a lot of the mainstream stuff, the top 40 pop stuff. You can hammer those home all day, and it's pretty clear. Like when you have just someone singing about some casual sex culture, or I don't know, Billie Eilish shit, like whatever disgusting stuff is in her songs.
Isn't it funny that since Napster killed Jewish music, that most music is actually like instrumental now, like the most popular stuff? When you go listen to all those playlists on YouTube, they're almost completely instrumental. Vaporwave, instrumental, or
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't call those the most popular. Well, it depends because you do see like the lo-fi, beats to study to, like that is definitely mainstream popularity. I wouldn't say still top 40 club stuff, like none of that.
No. But that's still a relic of the old music industry.
You're right. Yeah, it is old music, but yeah, a lot of the newer stuff is more instrumental. In that underground sense.
And metal is probably more popular than ever, somehow.
It's not popular in the way it was in the 90s, where you have Metallica and Pantera playing for million people in Moscow or whatever. It's not popular in that way, but it's popular in this.
It survived the transition,
underground culture where you have like independent artists. You might have like triple or quadruple the amount of artists you previously had, who each have their own fan bases. So it looks more spread out. They're not having individual concerts of millions of people.
But metal is completely instrumental. That's what I'm saying. I don't care. I know it has vocals. No one can understand a fucking word of it. I don't care what you say. Maybe it's just my old man.
That's exactly what I say. It's
the vocals are.
If you want to know what they're
saying,
you have to read it. You go read the lyrics.
Yeah, and sometimes it's cool. Actually,
it's like Archspire. You go read the lyrics for their songs. You get like a whole science fiction novel.
That's awesome.
I can sing so fast. There's just like so much.
Yeah, those guys are super cool. I remember I went to a metal show in Vancouver probably 15 years ago, but they're writing about Russian bear riders. Like it was an army of guys who rode bears. I forget that song was called. It's like Bear Riders. Fucking cool.
Yeah, you have like a band like Sabaton singing about all kinds of wars, the winged hussars.
Yeah, they're so cheesy. Sabaton is so cheesy.
I know.
So cheesy.
Very cheesy, but
I love it.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Jazz haters, go actually, tell me what you like. I'll send you some jazz you'd like. I'd almost promise. Same with any kind of music.
Just stop being so, just dumb and reactionary. But
you see
the art stuff too. It all modern art that I've ever seen.
Impressionism. A lot of reactionaries don't like impressionism.
Yeah, you see people on Twitter making that was something like I saw some dumb bitch on Twitter just like critiquing. These people have no drive to some higher will, so that's why this art comes out like that. And then actual artists, I think even Geo was in on this, post some art clearly completely contrary to what this person's saying because they know art, they know the scope of art history better, and just crush that. It's just like a dumb, like easy click, like dopamine.
Well, and
narrative.
Here's an easy argument. Wouldn't you say futurism probably derives from impressionism or those, post romantic schools? Almost certainly it does. And futurism is like the aesthetic basis of Italian fascism.
Yeah.
So, what? You don't like fascism?
Well, it goes back to I think, these are kind of themes that come up on the show here and there. We're not going back. Like you can't be a pure autistic traditionalist in the sense that a lot of these people, like these online spurgs, are like you can't just jump out of the modern world into some past. Like tradition is a living thing that you participate in. The issue isn't that we aren't back in time, that we did things the wrong way and now we have to jump back to that particular instantiation. The issue is that we've been cut off from the tradition.
Right.
So now we have to reestablish it by living it. But guess what? You live in the modern world. You live in this particular time.
Look, the more important,
you have to lean into that.
The more important part of being cut off from tradition is that you're cut off from reality. They try to say men are women, etc.
Right.
You don't need necessarily tradition to tell you that's wrong. You need to look around with your eyes, present. The break from tradition is just one piece of that. It's just one more piece. They don't like that because it informs your view of reality and your grandparents' wisdom on how to best deal with reality. The crux of the thing is to cut you off from reality. What most art is doing, what most art is shit. Because it's just trying. But what most forms of art is shed light on reality or human emotion or human perception or something from a different angle. And there's no way that looking at life from a different angle, even go read the Torah and look at life from a Jewish angle. It will inform your views. Don't adopt it, but it'll show you what we don't want to be. There's nothing art can do to hurt you.
Yeah.
We don't want all the public art installations to be these bland, amorphous shapes, right? That bug nobody, or this modern art, or this money laundering schemes. That's obviously trash art. No one's debating that. Point is, take these trads looking at something like a Monet, and since it's like a guy took his glasses off to paint, I think that's bad art. Go fuck yourself. You're stupid. And just shut up about art. Go review like Battle Bots or fucking Beyblades or whatever you're into. Shut up.
I don't know. Beyblade reviews sounds like pretty based, honestly.
Yeah, well, probably is. Actually, yeah, stay away from Beyblades. Go review fucking Ramsay's Hell Kitchen episodes.
Wait, no. What? Gordon Ramsay's pretty based too.
Hey,
He's cool.
How about just how about lurk more? How about lurk more?
Yeah, you know what? That's something we've gone away from. We haven't been calling out people who are just felt like they can jump right into the pool head first. Like,
Yeah.
No, you sit around on the sidelines, hang out for a bit.
Yeah. I think you should be enlisted for military service when you're 14, be able to drink when you're 18, be able to fuck when you're 21, and then you should be able to post on Twitter when you're 28.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. You should not have any access. You know what? 90% of people should not be on social media. You should just be living the life in the world.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that goes for me as well. I would apply that standard to myself.
Yeah. I could do with one more hobby.
In
But
fact,
I'm so sleepy. I get so sleepy all the time. I go do boxing, I go to work. I don't know what I'm gonna do when I have a family, because I feel like I'm,
you just find the energy, like you'll just have it there. Like when you have no other option, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's
do
right.
it.
I've always managed to grind through what I gotta do.
That's how it goes. So, yeah. In fact, on the topic of just who should say what, who should have social media, like what people shouldn't even listen to me right now. Like like you guys are stupid for listening to me.
Well, no. One exception.
Dumb.
Well, if you were making white babies or painting a painting or playing on your local soccer team, that would all be better. But since you gotta sometimes be in your car or at the gym or trying to fall asleep, at the Great White North.
Okay, that's a fair argument. I rescind. I retract my statement.
And on that note, we should probably call it a night too, because I am actually sleepy.
I think probably should be going to sleep for work tomorrow. Yeah.
I've been driving province to province again. So, hey, I'll tell this one story. Music plays here.
All right.
I got pulled over yesterday and breathalyzed on the way back because I was driving to him like a random check, and I blew my first 0.0.
Whoa.
I haven't
new high score.
Yeah.
Low score.
Yeah. The thing was, and I should take this lesson to heart, it's because I was overly honest with the cop. Like, He asked me if I had any drinks. I was just like, no. And I was like, well, let me think. I was like, no. He's all this kind of like tired bumbling. He's like, we have a reason to suspect you're drunk. Come on in front of the car. Da 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 da. I blow before it even leaves my lips. I'm like, let me guess, 0.0. He's like, yeah, 0.0. Like, you should have just bleed me. He's like, well, we gotta check. I'm like, okay. But really, I did it to myself. Go watch Trailer Park Boys and learn from Ricky how to deal with cops. He would have never got breathalyzed. I fucked up.
That's that's an expert situation. Management. I'm losing track of words, so